We're back at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace with Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, and Whoopi Goldberg talking about Comic Relief 2006 and a lot of other things. You've been in the Middle East 3 times,
right? Entertaining
U.S. troops over there. What's that like?
Afghanistan 3 times, Iraq twice. It's great. You play.
Been to Iraq twice.
Yeah, I've played. You know, it's the best audience in the world. They're heavily armed, so you have to be good. I remember once performing. I got up on stage. It's an entire audience is in full flak vest and heavily armed, and I'm going, I guess I didn't get that memo. And I look in the back and I see 3 Australians sitting on a fuel tanker smoking, going, "Go ahead, Robin, don't be afraid." And it's pretty wild. I mean, you have you fly in on C-130s and you get off the plane and they're going, "Stay with me, sir. It's totally safe. Just walk on the path. Here by here, 2 by 2. Do not walk off the path, sir." "Why? It's mine." "I'm standing right next to you." "It's okay. We have to talk like this at all times. Permission to laugh. Ha! Thank you." It's, you play all sorts of different bases in Afghanistan. Some of them, the further, like the smaller bases are where you get some pretty wild shows, like performing for the Special Forces guys who are, they're totally in country. They're dressed in full jalaba. The only thing that gives it away is a New York Yankees hat. A big fan of Mr. Jeter. But it's a great place to perform for me, and I've meant a lot to go there. And they always said, "Thanks for coming," and I want to go back. But, it's always tough, because one guy wore a pretty brave guy, a National Guards guy, had a T-shirt that said 3 weekends a month, my ass. Performing for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, like, "You made your point." But for me, the shows are always the best. You perform for people who just say thanks, and it's wild. And they didn't censor me, which was great. And you could make any joke, Do you
get nervous? I just got back.
Get nervous about.
Do you get nervous traveling over there?
When you get shot at? No, I don't get nervous. No, the one time we're taking off from one base in Mosul, all of a sudden I'm sitting in the cockpit, and all of a sudden it goes, "Missile launch." There's that voice recorder, that very quiet voice, "Missile launch," and the pilot goes, "Oh, it's just a flare." And it's always, you get a little nervous flying in, but there's nothing to be. I mean, on the ground, it's a whole other story.
I was just in Afghanistan. I brought back a burqa, and I gave it to my mom. My mom's like 82, and I gave it to her over lunch, and literally she went back home, put it on, and walked out of her apartment and wandered around the streets of New York in this full-on burqa.
Full-on burqa?
Yeah. A bright, electric blue burqa with literally, mesh in front of the face.
The hockey player mesh.
It was like, it was fascinating.
It's interesting to see how many people look at you. And the people, cab drivers, "Mother! It's amazing, the full burqa, when you see that, and you realize, and then you get to the slightly more liberal countries, that's the full jalaba, like in Iran or other countries where they're wearing the Armani suit. If you go to Qatar or any of the other wealthy countries, the moment they get in the elevator, makeup, "Excuse me, can you hold on a moment?" And full Armani and Prada under that. So it's like the other side of it. But for me, it was amazing to go and to see these people. I mean, they're caught literally between a rock and a hard place, and you want to go, "Hey, you're not forgotten too," especially now when it gets tougher and tougher and tougher, and being caught in this place of how do you move around. You've been there a lot. I want to go back.
What about these elections? Do you think they'll make a big difference?
At least it proves that W has to play with others now. You have to kind of notice that there is a referendum. In England, it's the vote of confidence. Literally, you could change. They would go more for him than for the entire Senate and House. But it has been, I think the people have at least expressed a certain kind of, hey, something's not working well, which is at least a start. And it means cooperation, which is the same thing about New Orleans. And you pointed out, it's beyond, it is bipartisan now. It means everyone working together, enough of blame, enough of the divisive, and say, we have problems, we must work together. You cannot separate us anymore, red state, blue state. It is us. We must work together. And that's what this is about. Comics just saying, okay, we're putting money towards a cause that should be addressed by many other sources, but still is there and needs help. And I think the same thing happens with the House, the Senate, and the White House. But we now must work together to find solutions in many different areas. And no more blame. And just sit there and go, work on it. Because we have a lot of stuff to deal with. And a lot of places, Iraq, here, all over the world, and it is important now to work together as quickly as possible, and no more of this blaming and looking for. With Clinton's administration, there was nothing was too small to be investigated, and with this administration, nothing was too big to be ignored. Now you can't. It's important to deal with it and deal with it together, and to find some sort of solutions for these problems, rather than just saying, well, they didn't deal with it. They didn't deal with it. Meanwhile, people are sitting in black mold, which is lethal.
It's been, as we were talking about before, 20 years of comic relief. What have been some of the highs or some of the lows? Were there times you were just like, oh man,
Been a lot more highs than lows.
Yeah.
Coming from the former. I think there have been a lot of great moments. Just that were the only sad thing that was near the end, I mean, it was just that the money was starting to get less and less and less, because I think, like Whoopi said, there was a kind of they call it like a compassion burnout, where people kind of go, okay, all right, I thought we dealt with this, and they're looking for another cause.
Yeah.
It becomes like cause of the week. What's the disaster of the month? I remember during the tsunami.
Yes.
And African nations go, we are starving too.
Yeah. Hello, Darfur. Hello, hello.
Well, that's the thing. People talk about Katrina fatigue, and I always think that's, the only people who have the right to have Katrina fatigue are the people who are living in New Orleans or living in the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The rest of us don't really have a right to talk about being fatigued about hearing about this stuff.
Well, you know what happens, though, Anderson? People really do want to help, and I think what happens, and what's happened specifically in the last couple of years, is we've just been overwhelmed. People have just been overwhelmed. You got folks who are losing jobs left and right. You have an economy that works here and sort of in a weird way a little bit down here and nothing in the middle. And people are falling apart. People are just trying to hold it together to raise their families. And I think people want to give, they want to pay attention. But when you're worried about whether your kid should be going to school today, whether when you were a kid, school shootings were not really something you really thought about. When I was a kid, worst thing happened, somebody brought some brass knuckles to school and you had a fight. My grandkids, they go to school and it's a gamut now. You don't know what's going to happen. So I think people just are at such a place, and then we can say, okay, here we need help in Darfur, we need help here, we need help in, New Orleans, we need help in, and people just.
But Americans are so incredibly generous, as you talked about.
They're very amazing.
If you compare it to, I did some like fundraisers in Europe and in very wealthy places, and you realize they were going, well, what is this? Why must this be done? It's crazy. For who? Oh,
it's the lemon cake syndrome.
Yeah, 5.
I think we also, when we were like around the 6th, 7th year, we started to get less.
Bono. God, no, he does it.
Yeah, but we got less and less corporate sponsors. It was very tough for us to get anybody to back or to make a significant donation, because the homeless was sort of. This was not a really great charity in some people's minds. It's the annoying people on the street.
No, they don't.
It's the annoying people on the street. You step over them. They smell bad. What are they? They're beggars. They get out of my way. I got to get to work. And it was
Recession by Calvin
and it's
Klein.
It's America's shame,
Repossession
and they would say
by Ralph Lauren. Sorry.
Go ahead.
And they would say to us, "We'll give you some amount of money, but you guys do a commercial for us, but a real commercial."
Right.
Like it was a soda company that wanted to. They actually said to us, "You guys do a commercial, and we'll say such and such soda is the official drink of the homeless."
The homeless. No, are you kidding? Really?
Yeah. So when I recycle cans, this is what I and it got to that. So it started to get less and less. And we're on HBO, so not everybody had that. We didn't have many hours, on screen a lot. We had 3 hours, 4 hours, and so now to have this amount of time for a cause that I think hits people hard.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to get hit as hard as I did in my heart when I took a look at this place.
Because on television, it's only this big.
You have to go and see it.
You have to be there.
You have to see it.
We're going to take a quick break and then talk about some of the things that you saw when you went down there. We'll be right back.
You talk about Katrina fatigue. People are very leery, like, well, where's my money going? How is this? I thought I gave money to Katrina. And didn't the government give all these billions of dollars? Why are we doing this with comic relief? As you know, if you go down there, nothing has been done.